Hello, friends. Thanks so much for joining the Enneagram and Marriage Pod. I wanted to say I'm so thankful that we get to do today's episode on building internal validation, practices to break free from external approval, because so many of you reached out to me about being anxiously attached after last week's episode. And you said, Hey, I'm trying to break free from decentralizing my partner a little bit more. I'm trying to do some of my own work. Can I get a couple of practices to do that? So delighted. I gave you one at the end of last week's episode. Today, I'm giving you a bit more, and I'm just so glad you could come and join me for this mini episode. It is so fun to have these refreshing times. I'm also grateful that Monday we're going to get to hear from Ian Cron about his book, The Fix. So stay tuned for that. Can't wait for that. I also want to let you know that I myself have done a significant amount of work on moving from external validation to internal. And it's a continuing process for all of us, but that's my little minute for you before we begin with your stuff is just letting you know how worthy of a time that's been for me, for my relationship. I really have appreciated noticing over the years, I don't need Wes to just self-soothe with me. I need to do that myself. Sometimes it comes in with me saying to everybody, hey, here's one of my things I like for peace in the home or to Wes. But a lot of the times it's finding my own way to that peace. And I really want to encourage you for the both and here, that it doesn't mean that we're shirking away from our partners, that we're forgetting our intimacy, our dates, our connections, our important conversations. No way. That's part of you sharpening each other. That's part of true depths together. And I just did the monthly episode on that as well for finding your monthly meeting framework. And we even pair those with other kinds of dates. Like this week, we just had our casual date. We're also going to be doing our dream date, our project date. And so we're in a cycle where we're trying all four of these different types of dates to keep us healthy in addition to our daily rhythms. But for internal validation, this is even bigger because if you don't come to your partner with something, if you just come to them and you're always on empty and you're looking for them to meet your needs and to validate you and you're that pursuer and they're distancing, it's very unattractive. It feels awkward. It feels like you're already doing the doggy paddle or drowning a bit, and then somebody kind of pushes on you. So, we want your partner to feel that you sometimes come to them when you have stuff, but that you are aware of self support and of support in your resourced friendships as well. So, yes, make sure you continue to build that as well. So I want to let you know when you externally validate, you also not only can hurt your partner, but yourself, because you'll have anxiety, decision paralysis, disconnection from your authentic self. And we're learning from Gabor Mate's trauma research and other spaces how important it is to be authentic, to say, here's what's happening. So very happy that you can do just a couple things. One of these is just deliberate self-acknowledgement and just allow yourself every single evening just a little bit of acknowledgement of something good you did. You might have heard of this or heard me talk about it as a gratitude practice. Sometimes I do a 3 wins after a work day because I'm such a perfectionist in that way that I'll be like, I did 25 things, but I didn't do 30. So I learned over the years just what were 3 wins today? And it just feels so good. But a deliberate self acknowledgement practice could look like that, or it could look like you asking yourself and keeping this note in the notes section of your phone. Just a key question: what wisdom did I demonstrate today that had nothing to do with anyone else's validation? And properly document that. Like I said, maybe you write this note to yourself. That's what I have in my notes section of my phone when I need to write the validations or the wins down. It feels really good. You could use AI to do that, whatever is helpful for you. And another thing you could do is a wisdom confirmed journal concept. And that is a great practice for allowing yourself a space to say, what did I learn or what did I do today to confirm the wisdom that was already inside of me versus asking everybody else if this is okay. And sometimes that means for those of us who are thinking our heart types, learning to connect more with our gut instinct, to be able to say, okay, I transacted a lot to ask others what I should do, but I'm allowing myself to track my own patterns. Did I do anything today that led me to realize I don't need to always off put everything I'm deciding or acting and my anxiety? But what did I learn? What do I know? And we know that what is fired is rewired. So when you keep firing these new, oh yeah, I did this, I did that, you get new neural pathways that say, I'm competent, I can do things. I don't have to be the pursuer and ask other people to always validate me. I'm allowed to set boundaries. I'm allowed to make sure that I appreciate the boundaries that others set with me and that I'm not pushing them. And so you can build confidence through things like, I'll say things like, oh, I noticed that I had a hunch about something and I was right. And I'm glad I pursued that. I'm glad I took that risk to pursue that in my marriage. Or I'm glad I spoke up to that friend and set that boundary because I needed to. Or I'm glad I took that risk to ask somebody to go to lunch because it felt really good, which I did that this week with a friend. I said, I want to bring something to her. She's gone through something hard. I don't want to offend her by pushing in too much, but I'm just going to check in. And she's like, I would love to see you guys on Friday. So it's like just those little, yes, I was right about that. This is a good time and space to do that. And my friends, I can trust them that they'll tell me when it's not. And I know I can do that with that friend. Another thing you can do is allow your faith to build you up. Now, that's something that I love talking about during the Lenten season because it's a beautiful thing to find your Bible verses that are your favorite or your favorite scriptures, something that shores you up spiritually. And for me, in Matthew, we hear this section also as well about how Matthew 11:28, we hear that come to me, all you who are tired and weary, and I'll give you rest. And that's such a gift for us from scriptures, from Christ, to remember that if we are having a weary moment, we can sigh. We can give that to God. We don't have to carry the whole world on our shoulders. So both we can be authentic and it's okay. We are weak and imperfect at times, and that is all right because God can show up. And if we need rest, God can show up. And for any of us who have that perfectionism or checking in, did I do that right? It just blesses us to be able to recognize. And you probably have your own favorite scriptures. I always know most people love the Psalm, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." And it's just so peaceful. I've been sharing that with clients lately about going from the top of the mountain where we're thinking and we're climbing and we're doing all the way down to the bottom of the mountain where we're just resting by the river with God and just laying down and having that too. So these things can help you to not feel like my spouse has to do that. They have to fill me. And then lastly, a strategic disengagement technique that you can do is just allow yourself to say, I am going to interrupt myself from the energy and awareness that keeps going to either the limerence I'm feeling or the attraction to always going into that sexual instinct to make everything about my partner. But to be personalized here, what is my reconnection list with myself? It may be that you have this stress kit. You're probably just going to have a list of things like I like to journal, I like to create. I think for any of us, a strategic disengagement technique is also helpful. Lastly, that we can redirect instead of outward energy all the time toward our partner, towards centralizing them. We can say, how can I strategically reconnect with myself when I find myself fawning or anxious or wondering too much about them and perseverating too much on what they're doing? Humans scan so negatively that having spaces for our own micro practices for busy days are just pattern interrupting of that negativity and saying, let me redirect myself. What are some personal reconnection things I like to do? And it might be like, I'm going to go refill my water. I'm going to go have a walk. I'm going to do some breath work. I'm going to schedule that workout class. I'm going to put my running shoes on. I'm going to call my best friend, send a fun meme to my spouse, something to reconnect that's lighter. And you heard me say spouse within that because sometimes it is going to include your spouse, but frankly, sometimes it isn't. And it's not an intense space when it does. So this is great. Just allowing yourself to physically embody some of these reconnection with yourself spaces and allow yourself to truly live out, document out, deliberately self-acknowledge the growth you've been doing. These are all great ways for you to build internal validation. So I'm so excited that you're on this journey with me. I hope today you will think of one of these, not all of them, but just one that you will take with you. And then you can come back to this episode if you need more. We know that 1% better rubric or theme of just a little bit, baby steps, however you want to label it. Do something. I'm going to give you a moment to pause on that. What are you going to do to internally validate yourself this week? Okay, good. And now you have it. Think about when you're going to do it. Maybe you start writing it out right now, and you're already on your way to building up this space of safety within yourself. And then when you come to your partner, you have a little more health to bring, which is such a great goal. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.